What you see here is a Koala touchpad connected to an Apple IIe microcomputer. Like a joystick or light pen, the touchpad is used to create graphics displays. The user controls the cursor by activating pressure-sensitive membrane switches directly below the pad's blank surface. Touchpads, joysticks, paddles, and light pens are often thought of as sophisticated toys, input devices used predominantly for games. But they can also be utilized as means for accessing microcomputers for individuals with various physical handicaps. A communication aid which makes use of a number of different interfaces is the Minspeak, produced by the Prentke-Romich Company. Here is Bruce Baker, creator of Minspeak.
There are many conditions and disabilities that cause communication disabilities. Among the most common are amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or Lou Gehrig's disease. This affects many thousands of people in the United States. Another common cause is so-called closed head injuries, or vehicular head trauma. People are surviving serious automobile accidents now that, because of progress in medicine, that in the past they were not able to survive. And cerebral palsy is a very common cause. Stroke is another common cause. These neurological conditions result in a state where the person is unable to speak intelligibly so that a stranger can understand. And also, as a concomitant to this neurological damage, is unable to use hand signs.
How then can these people communicate?
Well, there have been many different ways that have been attempted to approach this situation. Starting in the 1940s, speech pathologists began giving their clients spelling boards. But many people, for instance, who have cerebral palsy have not, it's very difficult to teach someone to read who can't speak because you can't get the kind of feedback that you need. In other words, what does this word, how is H-O-R-S-E, what does it mean? Well, if the person's only means of replying to you is to spell H-O-R-S-E, you don't have a means of checking what's going on, and he doesn't have a means of checking his own work. So it's very difficult to teach someone to read, or there are certain problems in teaching people to read who cannot speak. So an awful lot of people with cerebral palsy have had slow reading development, so spelling board is a solution, but not for all. Also, neurological damage sufficiently extensive to hamper articulation and the use of hand signs is almost invariably accompanied by a great deal of difficulty in pointing to a single letter. And the average sentence has 20 or 30 letters. And so you have the situation where a person has to point to letters very slowly. And it's one thing to point to 1, 2, or 3 areas, 1, 2, or 3 letters, but the average sentence has 20, 30 letters. By the time you're pointing to 10, 15, 20 letters, the time between actuations gets up to about 5 seconds, so you're talking about a couple minutes. So that is the spelling board solution. Starting in the 1970s with the advent of microprocessor technology, the semiconductor technology, information storage capabilities, and speech synthesis, there has been a push to use the capabilities of the new computers to help people overcome communication disabilities. And engineering has dominated, biomedical engineering has dominated that field up until recently. And the primary objectives were to make switches, make good switches. And now there are such things as an eyebrow wrinkle switch that you put across your head and can enable you to, by wrinkling the eyebrow, to open and close a circuit. There are optical head pointer systems where you have light arrangements, light systems, joysticks, sip and puff systems, myoelectric switches where just a movement of a muscle anywhere can open and close a switch. But the problem then has turned to a different field, and this is very hard for biomedical engineering to solve. It's part of the nature of human language, and that is that human language is very complex and is made up of an infinite variety of very small signals. We only have 26 letters. In other words, a very small signal, very small number of discrete symbols. However, the ways you can combine those are seemingly infinite. There has been a problem of getting the information from the communication aid user's mind into his communication aid. And it's been a barrier, and biomedical engineering has had a hard time in solving that problem. Communication was very slow because of the number of switches that had to be actuated, and there was really no way for biomedical engineering to approach it, because no matter how easy you make the switch to actuate, if you're going to demand that the person actuate 30 or 40 of them to make an intelligible enunciation, then it's going to take a long time.
Why is speed so important in the communication process?
Well, all we would have to do is to tell a joke to realize how important it is that things be timed well. If we had a 5-second hole in our conversation right now, I'll give you one. Anxiety results. A 10-second hole in conversation, and it becomes very difficult to proceed. When you have a 30 or 40-second delay, conversation itself becomes almost impossible. When the delay is up over a minute, conversation isn't occurring. Conversation means that both parties are focused on the same topic. And so even if you have a beautiful voice synthesizer and you have the world's fanciest myoelectric switch, if you have to make 30 or 40 selections and it takes 4 or 5 seconds per selection, you're going to have a great deal of difficulty. Some of the ways of approaching breaking the time barrier have been abbreviation systems, abbreviation expansion systems. For instance, you can set up a computer to recognize H4 as here, and H3 as his, and H2 as he. But these systems generally can get you down to about 15 to 20 actuations per sentence. And when you're dealing with 15 to 20 actuations, you're dealing still in very long times. Another system is a sentence abbreviation expansion system where, for instance, OF can mean, I think he is old-fashioned, or FB can mean, I want to go to the football game. The trouble with the word expansion, so-called abbreviation expansion systems, is that they still require 25 to 35, well, 25 hits, and you also have to know how to read and spell very well. The problem with such abbreviation expansion where you go to the whole sentence is that as you start accumulating more and more sentences, you can do initials for sentences when you have 50 sentences. When you have 100 sentences, it starts getting a bit more difficult. When you're dealing with a storage of 200 sentences, and that's just the tip of the iceberg of what a person would need in a sentence storage system, the problem becomes really extreme as the codes for the sentences become less and less related to the meaning of the sentence. By the time you're on sentence 300, your codes have no relationship at all, and then you go into long, arbitrary memorizing processes, the hardest feature of which is not remembering so much the code as remembering what sentences you have.
What is the semantic compaction system?
Okay, semantic compaction is a technique that I developed from my own studies in philology, where you have meaning-based grammars. And what semantic compaction means fundamentally is that is an abbreviation system based on meaning. If we could make 2,000 sentences, you and I together could make 2,000 sentences, if we'd planned them correctly, you could use from that list of 2,000 sentences and have a sentence almost appropriate for every occasion. You might not have a sentence, I do not like broccoli and mushroom casseroles, but you would have the sentence, I do not like that vegetable dish. And you would certainly have a sentence, I'm sorry, I do not like that. So if we could have 2,000 sentences, we'd get into the problem of what does sentence 875 mean, what does sentence 1,421 mean. The reason the problem is there is that there is no relationship between the meaning of the sentence and the 1,475. Semantic compaction is a technique whereby the abbreviation for the sentence is in fact a pictorial summary of the meaning of the sentence. Now this sounds very easy if you're using 500 or 2,000 pictures, but this would be very difficult to actuate. Semantic compaction uses only 50 or 60 pictures in which the pictures take on different meanings depending upon which context they are struck. Let's take a look at a board here. This is just a generic board. Each user would do his own, or we can help him do it. And I'm going to hit a question mark key number 2, which has a B on it, you get it, to be, and a girl.
Who is she?
It says question to be girl, who is she? Now I'm going to hit question to be and people. What's that going to say?
Who are they?
Who are they?
Who are they?
You're Minspeaking already. These kind of pictures in their associational systems can contain the whole language. Question mark map and girl.
Where is she?
Question mark map boy, where is he? Question mark map people, where are they? There's just no end to the meaning of a key, no end to the meaning of a picture. There's an old proverb that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and a picture can have 1,000 different meanings depending upon which context into which it is placed. Now, you program your own sentences here, and this particular machine has been programmed by me. But let me explain something here. The symbol system, what we call a two-symbol theme. When you hit, I'm going to clear it, and then I'm going to hit a two-symbol theme. I'm going to hit apple and lightning, and to me that means fast food. Apple and lightning. And now these two keys are going to remain actuated, and then all the other keys are going to have a meaning in relationship to fast food. I'm going to hit the cup running over, and it's going to say, I would like a Coke, please.
I would like a Coke, please.
Now I'm going to hit the elephants, and they're going to say, large, please.
Large, please.
Okay, I'm going to hit the zebra down here, and the zebra to me means meat.
I would like a Big Mac also.
All right, now, question mark zebra, what's that going to mean?
Where is the beef?
Okay, where's the beef? So, if I hit the key that has 2 plus 2 equals 5 with a big X across it, that's the key for wrong, and the machine will say, that's not what I meant to order.
That's not what I meant to order.
You see how specific we're being able to get right within that. That's not what I meant to order, only took one actuation. Yet it's very, very specific. It's absolutely appropriate to the context because we've established the context by saying apple and lightning. And if you would do money and house, you would have a series of sentences to use in a bank. Then house and God, you would have a series of sentences to deal with things you would say in church. And a person's daily life can be divided into a series of communication environments, and then the meaning of the keys within the communication environment becomes very plain and very obvious.
So you're customizing all of the meanings to each individual's needs.
Each individual, the device is self-customizing. You put in your own sentences, or you have a therapist or clinician put in sentences for you. If you're a college-educated adult who has had a stroke and only has a physical deficit, then you can put in all of your own sentences. So you're a professor at a seminary, and you would put in telephone and God for prayer. Now this is for somebody with a full functioning mind. For people who have less developed cognitive skills, you can have a system whereby each picture symbolizes a sentence. And it's very important for people who have cognitive delays and cognitive deficits to be able to output in whole sentences, because we learn through context. New vocabulary words can be taught in that way, and the therapist or clinician can change the sentences over a period and build the person up to longer and longer sequences with more and more complex sentences. We learn communicating through communicating, and so long as we're being given only words, people with real cognitive problems can't organize the words. But if they find that a sentence will change their environment, they can actuate that sentence, and then it's a real tool for developmental language.
Let's say that the person using the Minspeak is communicating with someone who has a hearing impairment, or perhaps they're in an environment where the voice synthesizer is not appropriate, say doing lessons in a classroom or in a library. What other possibilities are there?
Well, Minspeak has a voice synthesizer, but it also has a printer. Now this is a touch-sensitive model with a printer, and let me draw out a sentence here. question mark, Father Time,
What time is it?
and I'll put the printer on. I'll say print display. What time is it? Was across the display, the liquid crystal display, and now it says what time is it? And now if you want to advance the paper, advance paper, and it will go up 5 character lines, 5 lines. This is a 40-line dot matrix printer, and this is a 40-character dot matrix printer. This is a 40-character liquid crystal display.
The Minspeak is available in 2 embodiments, the touch-sensitive board which Tony is using, and a light-activated board for individuals without manual control. The touch board is based on the standard QWERTY keyboard with additional command cells along the outside edges. It can be activated by hand or with a mouth stick. The light board is activated by means of direct scanning or row-column scanning. The joystick functions as a direct scanner, moving the light 1 cell at a time in any direction. Row-column scanning is a much slower process. Rows are scanned from top to bottom until a switch is actuated. The columns of that row are then scanned from left to right until the switch is activated again.
No, you got a sentence. Oh.
This is my Minspeak unit which helps me to communicate with you.
Scanning speed is easily adjusted. A keyboard overlay designed for row-column scanning has more frequently used letters or cells located near the upper left corner of the keyboard. This greatly reduces the time between actuations. Input devices for scanning include the eyebrow wrinkle switch, the wobble stick, which could also be controlled by an elbow, wrist, or knee, and the sip and puff. Occasionally, the synthesizer will mispronounce a word, most frequently a proper name. Phonetic spelling can correct the problem. Notice the spelling of Tony's name on the liquid crystal display.
What is your name?
My name is Jan. What's your name?
My name is Tony.
Hi, Tony. We've enjoyed being here today, visiting with you.
It was nice to meet you.
It was nice meeting you too, Tony.